Welcome to In Your Corner. On today's show, Dr. Stan Harris, beaten, tarred, and feathered, left for dead at the tender age of 6.
And finally, they slammed me on the ground, and they started stomping all over me like I was an ant or a roach, kicking all over me.
And now he's a champion for Christ.
Welcome to In Your Corner. Over the years, I've worked with some great world-class professional boxers. And I know what it's like to be knocked down because I've been knocked down in a boxing ring myself. I've watched the great champions, and the great champions always had great coaches. The greatest coach of all is Jesus Christ. We've taken our cameras and we've gone across America and we found real men with real stories who have been knocked down, who have been battered by the circumstances of life. But they've gotten up, they've carried on, and they've become champions because they had the greatest coach of all, Jesus Christ, in their corner. Our special guest today is Dr. Stan Harris.
Well, thank you. First of all, I appreciate you having me on the show. It's a blessing to be here with you. As a 6-year-old boy, I grew up in the ghettos of Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. And they call it the projects and so forth. But I was out in the middle of a field playing and a gang of teenagers came my way. I was so afraid I froze right in my tracks. And in essence, I was paralyzed by my fear. Well, the teenagers grabbed me. One guy hit me in the stomach and knocked the air out of me. I don't know if you ever had the air knocked out of you before, but you know, you can't breathe. And they just started beating all over me. Again, I was a 6-year-old boy. This gang of teenagers, they just started beating all over me, pulverized me. And finally, they slammed me on the ground. And they started stomping all over me like I was an ant or a roach, kicking all over me. And by the time I was a bloody mess, I mean, covered with blood, you would think that they were done, but they weren't done. The worst part was about to happen. And that is one guy flipped me over to a great big old bucket of tar, poured it on my face, poured it on my body. They took a bunch of feathers. They threw them on me, and they left me there. And thank God the tar wasn't hot, but it was thick. I almost suffocated. Somebody finally stopped, helped me, and rushed me to the hospital, got me taken care of, and I almost suffocated. Thank God I lived. And I just remember, you know, couldn't figure out why it would take a gang of teenagers to beat up one 6-year-old boy. Right. And I wanted to learn how to protect myself. And one time, my mother wanted a free month of karate lessons. And I went with her there, kicking and chopping and screaming. I thought, man, this is great. Her free month ran out. She started paying her money because she was serious, right? Well, Carrie, Mama ended up getting too good. Now ask me what's too good.
What's too good?
Well, too good means her and her boyfriend got in a fight and she knocked him out cold.
Amazing.
I mean, here's this little 5'2" woman knocking out a 6-foot man. And I was like, that's the answer. I got to learn this stuff. And so that's what motivated me. And I tell people, within your pain is hidden power. And see, trouble never comes to a woman or man unless she brings a nugget of gold or good in her hand. And we accept the trouble, but we don't accept the good. You see, oftentimes within the oyster, there's a pearl. Pain and adversity causes some men and women to break. It causes others to break records. And I challenge people, especially today, we're on an anti-bullying campaign, you know, and a lot of children are being bullied. And not only that, if it's not taken care of when they're young, they grow up and all of a sudden they're now domestic abusers. And that's a terrible situation. Yeah. And sometimes God cracks us open and it's a painful time, but he loads us up with his grace.
But in those days, you didn't know the Lord, did you? I mean,
no, I didn't.
That damaged you so much that I think later in life you even contemplated suicide, didn't you?
Well, my mother had a boyfriend that one of his boyfriends that beat me over the head with a steel choker chain for a dog, beat me across the head and the back with a folding chair. And, you know, Dad left when I was 3, you know, and again. So I got to a place where I just thought, you know, life's not worth living. I'm going to commit suicide. I'm going to kill myself. And tried it on 2 occasions, and I'm glad it, you know, it didn't fulfill that. But yeah, life was rough for a while, you know, but even then, God still moves behind the scenes, kind of like in the book of Esther. He's never even mentioned, but he's moving behind the scenes, you know, and he was moving through all that. And again, getting started in martial arts, they said, before we teach you self-defense, you got to learn self-discipline. I was like, I don't want no self-discipline stuff, but I want self-defense. And if I got to learn that, I'll learn it, you know?
Yeah.
And that was the thing, in essence, that laid the foundation to help me be successful in every area of life. And even when I became a Christian later on, that was the thing that really helped me in my Christian life.
Well, what was it? I mean, you were contemplating suicide, and what did you do when you know, I think you actually tried to commit suicide, didn't you?
Well, I actually, you know, I got to a place, you know, I thought, you know, nobody cared, you know, and so I thought, I'm just going to kill myself. Well, I got a razor-sharp butcher knife, and I put it right on my belly button. I don't know if you ever put a razor-sharp butcher knife on your belly button. It just doesn't feel real good. And of course, I'm a little kid. I'm like, nobody cares. I'm just going to kill myself. And I got this great idea. I was going to do it nice and slow. I started pouring that thing. It went like, I think it only went like a half inch. I was like, ah! Dropped it on the ground, you know, and I'm bleeding. I'm like, oh my goodness, that hurts too much. I was like, there's got to be an easy way to kill yourself. Well, I'd watched on television where this guy got high on drugs and thought he was a bird and jumped off the top of the, you know, building, and it didn't fly real well. So I got, okay, I'll go to the top story of the house, and that way, if I jump, if I change my mind, you know, it's too late. I'm already. And so again, I went to the top story of the house, put my foot on the window ledge, and I was just about to jump. And I'm crying, I'm thinking, man, nobody cares, I'm just gonna kill myself. I made a mistake and I looked down. I said, man, I'm about to jump down there, I'll splash to pieces. And so I never did jump. Like when I was preaching one time in Kentucky, a guy walked up, he said, did you ever jump? I was like, no, man, I was born this ugly, what do you think? But if I'd have jumped, I'd have been like, again, thousands of young people and thousands of adults every year who take their lives, and primarily because they feel like no one cares. You know, David said in Psalm 142, I looked on my right hand, verse 4, but refuge failed me. No man cared for my soul. Hey. And I tell people, when the devil gets done with you, that, you know, the devil will squeeze everything he has out of you. You know, sin will take you further than you want to go, keep you longer than you want to stay, cost you more than you want to pay. And when you eat the devil's corn, he'll choke you on the cob every time. Yes. And the devil will squeeze everything out and say, listen, nobody cares about you. Just go ahead and kill yourself. And many times people get to that place, and that used to be my testimony. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. And, you know, the amazing thing, though, is when I finally come to Christ, now it's switched from nobody cares to now I know he cares.
I know he cares, yeah. Nobody ever cared for me like Jesus.
Well, come on now.
Amen, brother. Friend, I don't care what you're going through. I don't care how many times you've been knocked down. I don't care how much pain you've suffered. There is hope and there is help for you. We have a group of men here, and if you're battling some issue today, some pain, you want to throw in a towel, you want to quit, you want to chuck it all, I want you to call us and help us talk you through this, and let us help you. The number is right here on the screen. Give us a call today and let us help you overcome whatever you're going through.